Hey everyone, so we're going to use Illustrator to draw some calligraphic lines for the features of a face, and we're going to use a face card as the inspiration for that, right? So this is kind of what we're going to end up with, but before we go there, we're going to bring a photograph in to get the shape of the figure, and use the Pathfinder to kind of divide the head from the shoulders so we can fill each of those things separately later on. So here we go. I'm going to get rid of our inspiration there and zoom out here. This is a photo that was placed into this document. Now remember, to get a bitmap into Illustrator, you just go to the File menu and choose Place, right? Or Shift-Command-P or Shift-Control-P on a PC. And then you can choose any file to place into this existing Illustrator document. Here it is. And I've put that on its own layer down here at the bottom. See that? And to help me use the pen tool to trace this thing, I'm going to change that layer. If you go to the menu in the Layers panel, you can choose to change that to a template layer. And what that does is it screens back the image and locks it. See that? It's locked. And you even get a special template icon instead of the eye. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to the layer above it that I'm doing my drawing on, and I'm going to hit the P key on the keyboard to get the pen tool. And it's always helpful to zoom in here when you're drawing with the pen tool. If accuracy is important, you want to zoom in. Now remember, with the pen tool, you just click and drag handles if you're making curves. And by the way, I'm going to switch to no fill. I'm going to get rid of the fill for this thing. And I'm going to run over here and change my stroke to, let's draw it just with a magenta color so I can see it against that grayscale bitmap a little better. Okay, so where was I? So with the pen tool, you kind of lead ahead, click near the edge and drag the handles that'll make the curve, and keep that handle kind of close to the leading edge, right? And I'm just going to follow the contours, clicking and dragging to make curves. All right, here, now this is a corner. Before I go on, I'm going to click that lead anchor point to get rid of that handle that's in front. I'm just going to click these corners. All right, now this is going to continue up and curve, so I'm going to click and drag a handle out from that point, because I'm basically telling Illustrator now, okay, all the straight lines are over, I'm going to start curving again. So now I'm clicking and dragging to follow the curves. And this is a little weird, so I'm going to cut off that part. Okay. My appointments are coming up. My kid's got a dermatologist appointment I got to take him to. Oh, the joys of making videos. Okay, so here's the front features of this figure, and I'm gonna start just clicking a couple of points. I want this to be a little more chunky. So instead of making curves, I'm going to make these straight lines. All right. I want the features to be a little more abrupt in the front here. All right, so here I'm going to curve again. Okay, there we go. So I've got a contour drawn with the pen tool around the figure. Again, I know that takes practice. The pen tool is not the easiest thing in the world to get used to, but keep at it. It'll be your best friend one of these days. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in again here. Now, I want to be able to separate the shirt from the head, so I'm going to get the pencil tool out, and I'm just going to make a kind of sweeping line. So now, what I'm going to do is come back to my layers here. I'm going to hide that template layer and see what I'm left with. Right, here's my basic drawing of the figure's contour, and I'm going to select both that line that I drew, like that neckline, and I'm going to select the contour of the figure and go to the Properties panel. And down here where the Pathfinders are, right, you know, unite, minus front, intersect, that sort of thing, there are more of them hiding. See the three dots here, the ellipsis, the more options button. One of those pathfinders is the divide pathfinder. What this does is it takes any intersecting areas and cuts them one from the other, but it doesn't eliminate anything. Everything stays there. It's just separate individual pieces now. So I'm going to hit that divide pathfinder. Okay, now the result is always grouped. So if you click on it, it's grouped. But if I get the hit the A key for the direct select tool, I can click on switch these now that I've drawn them. I'm going to hit the D key on the keyboard to give them default colors, right? Black and white. Black stroke with a white fill. All right, so now that they're filled, I can get the direct select tool. Again, the shortcut is the A key. And you see I've divided the figure up, okay? Head from shoulders, so to speak. Get the idea? And so if I wanted to now, I can fill this. Got to make sure I've got the fill active and not the stroke, right? Okay, so divide. It's really good Pathfinder to know about. It can make things a lot easier for you. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that red fill. Okay, so let's draw these features. Want to? So using brushes can be really beneficial in Illustrator. I'm going to grab this group of features so I can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, so let's start with this eyebrow. And you see this wonderful calligraphic line. Illustrator is great at doing this stuff. So I'm going to get the pencil tool out, okay? And I'm going to draw that basic line, okay? And I'm going to now use a calligraphic brush along that path that I just created. So I'm coming over here to my brushes and my dock of panels over here. And again, if you don't see the panel that you're looking for, go to the window menu and choose brushes there, right? Okay, so now remember, there are all sorts of brushes hiding in the library down here, right? Click that library button. and I can go, say, to Artistic and choose Calligraphic Brushes, right? Artistic, Calligraphic. And there's all sorts of calligraphic brushes I can take a look at here, right? Some more rounded, some more angular, right? And the one that I'm going to use is this 10-point, right? Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, there we go. 10-point flat brush that I've applied to it, right? And it's funny, like if you keep clicking it, it'll kind of give you random angles, right? Yeah, that's pretty close. But let's say you're not close to the angle that you want. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and close that calligraphic set. Like if you want to, well, let's just do this. I can grab that set and bring it up here and nest it with my brushes and symbols if I'm going to be using that a lot, right? Okay, but here it is. I've just added it to my list of brushes, that 10-point flat calligraphic brush. Check it out. Down at the bottom of your brushes panel, you've got the options of selected object, right? If I double click up here on the brush itself, I'm changing the brush. Every time it's applied, it's going to be whatever I update it to. Here, what I'm doing is just applying it to the object, right? I'm changing the options for that object. So I'm going to click on this. So here are my stroke options. I can change the size of the brush, right? But I'm thinking about 10 points is what I need for this. Here's the cool thing. I can change the angle, right? That's what I really want to do. That's what's going to give it the character that I want. Okay, so I've got it kind of pointing in the right direction. And now I want to give it a little bit of roundness. Not too much. I want those points to be pretty pointy. But I'm going to bump up the roundness a bit. Soften it a little bit. Okay. Get the idea? All right, so I've got the eyebrow that I want. And again, if I decide, I want to adjust that some more, just come back to the options and modify it a bit more. Give it a little more character. So you can edit it anytime. Now, I'm going to take that and duplicate it down below for the eyelid, the top eyelid. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, click and drag an instance down below, right? And I'll just, I can make that line a little smaller. Nudge it into position. Okay. And I need another one beneath that. So I'm going to reflect that. I'm going to hit the O key on the keyboard. That's the shortcut for the reflect tool. And I'm going to option click kind of where the middle of the eye is going to be. And it's going to flip it down below. Now, the angle of the brush isn't going to be right, but I can make a copy of this. And then remember, come back to your brushes panel, go to the options for that brush, and modify the angle for this one. All right. And once again, I'll maybe adjust the size of that a bit. Can nudge it into position. This one's going to look a little different because, you know, I didn't quite get the same sweep on the curve that I had before, but it'll be cool. It'll be just fine. All right, so just to get the look right, I'm going to throw a couple of ellipses here for the eyeball or the iris. Okay, I'll make a copy of that and paste it in front. Command C, Command F. Oops. You don't want to super nudge that one. There we go. And here we're going to change the fill to black. Oops. This one I'm drawing looks a little more puppy dog eyes. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay, now it obviously needs to be behind these. So I'm going to select those and bring them up. Command and the right bracket key will move them above that eye. All right, that's a little closer. Not perfect, but it's better. I could be here all day. Okay, so now I'm going to get the pencil tool out again and make the top of that eyelid. Try to get that about right. Okay, so let's put one down here as well. All right, on these, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to get the width tool. Shift W is the shortcut for the width tool. And this is going to let me make the front end wider and the back end thinner. Command clicking the other one now to select it. Click and drag to make it wider at one end, and click and drag at the other to make it thinner. We'll get the direct select tool and modify that shape a bit. Okay, and now let's draw a nose, get the N key to get the pencil, and I'm just gonna, it looks more like a mustache. It's supposed to be the sweep of the nostril there. And once again, let's get the width tool, make it a little wider at one end. And here I'm going to change the stroke to have a rounded cap. See that? Over here, click on the stroke options and choose rounded cap. All right. So, calligraphic brushes and using the width tool to create your own calligraphic brush or calligraphic stroke. All right, and again, if you're not happy with any of these, come back and click on the brush options, modify the angle until you've got the look that you want. it looks a bit like the features on my guy here are a little larger than the other. Not quite happy with that eyeball. I'll have to work on that. Okay, so yeah, he looks a bit bug-eyed. So I'm gonna click on that contour, both of those elements, and I'm gonna lock that. Command 2 will lock it, and now I can click and select the eye here and maybe adjust it a bit to get the proportions the way I want them. A little higher maybe. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. Tracing a photo, using calligraphic brushes to give the features a certain style. I could now, if I wanted to, unlock that group, and like maybe I want to apply that same calligraphic stroke to the figure. And reduce the size quite a bit. There we go. So, go get a photo, place it into Illustrator, put it on its own layer, use the pen tool to practice tracing, create a contour of that figure, and then start looking at features and think about what's the best way that I could emulate those features, abstract them, and still maybe retain a bit of a likeness. It's not the sort of thing that's going to happen overnight. It takes practice. So I just want to encourage you to use these tools. The more you use them, the more you get familiar with them, the better you're going to get at everything that you want to do in Adobe Illustrator. So go for it.